I want us to begin with an undeniable fact. And I have a quote from my own book. Very well researched, viewers. I'm not saying this. A large number of top authors, academics, politicians from the Muslim community have come out and said so. Couldn't find a problem with the research. But viewers, the undeniable fact is that India's history has been selectively edited. British, French colonialism, Portuguese colonialism are dissected endlessly in textbooks and seminars. But an older, bloodier chapter, the centuries of Islamic conquest and cultural erasure, a form of colonialism, has been largely skipped. Today, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has questioned that science. The Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister says political Islam remains a live threat, one that once changed India's demography by the sword and today seeks to do so by design. Viewers, I just want us to quote Yogi Adityanath. He says, our ancestors waged major struggles against political Islam, yet this aspect of history remains largely overlooked. There is talk of British colonialism, there is talk of French colonialism, but nowhere is there talk of political Islam which undermined the Sanatani faith in this country, unquote. And by evidence, viewers, you can see some of the monuments, you can see the impression that Islam has left on this country. It's very visible. The remark will make many uncomfortable, including some of you. But more importantly, it poses questions, important ones. Did a powerful ecosystem sanitize Islamic imperialism to preserve a carefully curated narrative of composite culture end up emboldening Islamic supremacism, viewers? Fundamental question. Let's ask that question tonight. Let's open this up. I want to first begin with Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, a lot of people have talked about it now, especially when scholarship has become more democratized. And there are people who will call themselves the actual embodiment of fact-driven historic study. And they have said very clearly, and I've got some examples, that there has been a selective purge. Would you agree?
100%. Look, a historian fundamentally is not a specialist. They're propagandists. There is no historian who's a specialist. You ask Romila Thapar, for example, to read an archaeological report, she won't know the beginning of it and the end of it. And this has been tried. Somebody actually gave it to her. She couldn't do it. She's not an archaeologist. She's not a numismatist. What is she? So this has been a very consistent pattern where generalist narrative builders claim that they've done some highly specialized research and pass off what is a general arts degree like, home economics and things like that. Pant fat gaya to kaise silai karna hai, kind of degrees, and then claim they are great experts at it. Number one. So all this, facade of great methodology and academic rigor in history is total BS. The only real people who are proper historians are archaeologists, numismatists, geneticists, etc., etc., etc. Let us set that aside. Second, since the beginning of, say the middle of the last century, in the 1950s, political Islam has been an extremely potent force that emerged with Hassan al-Banna and Sayyid Qutb in Egypt, developed under Sayyid Qutb, but started by Hassan al-Banna, and it has become an absolute terror for the rest of the world. Remember, Pakistan was created through political Islam. How can you tolerate political Islam in a country that has already been partitioned by political Islam? What is political Islam? It's simply the application of the Muslim mind to the political space out here. Okay, now, these are the same people who will claim it is very left-wing for Islam to be applied to politics, but it is not okay and it is totally right-wing for Hinduism to be applied to politics. Political Islam, very, very good. But Hindutva, very, very bad. Fascism, Nazism, everything under the sun, you can find. What is fascism? Will they be able to define it? Not one. Even the Italians Italian social scientists have not, even Antonio Gramsci was not able to define fascism properly. If you take his definition, his very amorphous definition of fascism, every communist party around the globe would fall under that this thing. When the Sino-Soviet split happened, Mao Zedong went around calling Khrushchev a fascist. So, these are all these very, this is the kind of thingamajiggery. There is actually more substance in astrology than there is in so-called mainstream academic historianship.
Okay. Let me bring in the Samajwadi spokesperson, Dr. Pooja Mishra. What part of Mr. Yogi Adityanath's statement is not a fact?
When our Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath said that the history of Hindu leaders has not been discussed, I think the government or the BJP need to stop rewriting the history. If the glory of Hindu leaders has not been discussed, then how come we know the great Ashoka? How come we know the Chhatrapati Shivaji? And when you are politicizing a religion, just before me, the person who was speaking, he said that Islam politics is okay, but Hindu politics is not okay. I would say either of the politics is not okay. The constitutional politics is best, and you can't go for the extremism, which is the government is doing. They are going for the extreme of the Hindutva. They are criticizing the Islam. Rather, the government itself is indulged into creating wedge between the Islam and the Hindu. They are not talking about the constitutional right. They are not talking about what is right on the ground. Rather, our chief minister is indulged into just rewriting history in their own way, telling the history in their own way.
Can you point out one book? I'm sure you're very well read, you've come researched, one book on political Islam and the danger and the threat it poses to this country. Name me the book and give me the author's name.
And I'm not a historian.
Okay.
Though
So
I
what are
have
you
a
now?
doctor in my name. Yeah, I have doctor in my name
No,
because
I understand.
I did
You're
PhD
on
in
this
chemistry.
debate.
Yeah.
You're going to be
Yeah,
waxing eloquent and informing our viewers about
Yes,
certain
I
things. So
know.
can you tell me?
I
You said
know,
that,
I know
Yogi
I know
Adityanath
the
is...
present.
My question to you, madam, one second. I'm not shouting at anybody.
Yeah,
I'm only asking you a simple question. What part of what Yogi Adityanath has said is wrong? That we have not had enough scholarship on the effects of political Islam in this country.
Can you repeat your question again? I couldn't get it.
Yogi Adityanath says that the discourse on Islamic colonialism in this country has been ignored.
And I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Everything has been discussed
Now,
in
viewers,
this
let
story
me
and
tell
has
you.
discussed in their view.
I said, give me a name. Give me a name of an author, because Mr. Perplexity will give us some names after Googling. But I want you to give me a name. You say that it has been discussed ad nauseum. Books have been written. So tell me the name of one book. You have come to this debate.
I think NCRT itself talks about
NCRT.
the good
Let me tell
society.
you something.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that she used this word NCRT, because in my book, Modi in India, I talk about Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan ji's brief to the NCRT, where he says that it is important to retell history in a manner in which we do not open up wounds of the past. So it is okay, viewers, to talk about the forceful inquisitions carried out by Christians, invaders in this country, but viewers, not about Muslim invaders. And you have to ask yourself why. Well, I'll tell you why, viewers. Because Christians are about 1.5% of the general population. They don't bring enough to the table to be swing voters. Let me tell you what Dr. Ambedkar, and this is in my book once again, viewers, in his book, Pakistan or the Partition of India, he responds to arguments that champion composite culture. We've heard so much about Hindu-Muslim amity, Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. These are words that are used and thrown about. So let me quote him. He says, composite culture, the prevalence of Hindu customs in Muslim practices, the idea that Muslim peers had Hindu disciples, that Hindu yogi had Muslim chelas, or that saints or prominent religious figures from both communities sometimes shared the closest of bonds. While acknowledging that both Hindus and Muslims are the same race, Ambedkar wondered if this facet alone was long was enough for scholars to conclude that the two communities longed to belong to each other. These are his words, not mine. Ambedkar argued that these common features were less an outcome of any genuine attempt to adapt to or adopt another's practices than a result of incomplete conversions. In a land like India, where a majority of Muslim population has been recruited from caste and outcast Hindus, the Muslimization of the convert was neither complete nor effectual, either from fear of revolt or because the method of persuasion or insufficiency of preaching due to insufficiency of priests, Ambedkar wrote. He also claimed political and religious antagonisms divide Hindus and Muslims far more deeply than the so-called common things that are able to bind them together. Viewers, he goes on to then write, in fact, viewers, and this is very, very important, that there was nothing called Ganga Jamuna Tehzeeb. It's an affectation. Now you can say that it was essential to do all of this post-partition because you wanted to heal the wounds, but that should not preclude academic study. So I want to bring in now the BJP national spokesperson who is joining me, Sharat Trivedi ji. Sharat Trivedi, many people are saying, why go into all these wounds of the past? Why talk about Islamic, political Islam, this, that, the other? This is a provocative debate that is being launched. How do you respond?
Rahul, when we can have a conference on complete eradication of Sanatan Dharma, it was not an impromptu thing. They had a banner behind them and leading luminaries of the South had addressed that conference, and we talked about Hinduism as malaria, diphtheria, filaria, whooping cough and whatnot. There was no problem. But here when Yogi Adityanath says that let's have a healthy political discussion on political Islam, that's not kosher. You can't do that. When countries from as far away from Malaysia to from Morocco to Malaysia got converted, barring India and Israel, that was fine. The largest empire in the Middle East, that was the Persian Empire, vanished in 300 years. Everybody understood Islam. Everybody understood the tenets of Islam, the good things about Islam, and they got converted. We see the Islam, the Sufi Islam, the dervishes twirling away to glory, but we don't see the kind of effect that it had in India and rest of the world. Today, largest number of refugees are Muslims from Muslim countries. They are not being thrown out from non-Muslim countries. We have Muslims coming from Afghanistan on Indian Air Force planes. We have got Muslims coming from Pakistan to India. We have got Muslims coming from Bangladesh and Rohingyas. But the Indian Muslims are under threat. When UP STF training center police STF training centers opened in Lucknow, that is fine. That's kosher, no problem. But when it is opened in Deoband, Akhilesh ji says that साहब ये इससे देश टूट जाएगा, हमारी सद्भावना खत्म हो जाएगी, धर्म में problem आ जाएगी. We had a spokesman who just made one comment on Islam, and she's incommunicado. Nobody can even approach her. She's has the highest level of security provided to her. But here, when we are saying that let's have a healthy discussion, we are not accusing anybody.
Okay, you're not just saying that let's have an academic conversation around a taboo subject which no one ever really talks about. Mr. Abbas, let me ask you, why do Indian Muslims, if there's nothing called political Islam, why do Indian Muslims go and join the global jihad in Pakistan and Syria and become members of the ISIS, especially from states like Kerala and so on and so forth, even Uttar Pradesh? Maharaj chose. Why?
Those who do are absolute Deshdrohis.
But why do they do it?
And that is what they are.
Why do they do it? It's all very well to grandstand. I'm asking you.
I'll tell you why they do it.
Yeah.
I think the question you should also ask yourself.
I'm asking you a question. Can you first give me an answer to that and ask you? You can ask the other question.
Allow me some time, my dear friend. Allow me. Those who join this, I do not know why they join. I think they must
you don't
be
know why they join.
Sick mind to join a terrorist organization.
Okay, I'll tell you why, viewers.
Which is absolutely
so if there are people who are so sick in the mind, why do they do it? Who is converting them to their cause? One second now, just 1 minute, Mr. Abbas. I know you're not going to make any worthy statements except for those that play to the galleries, and that's fine. But I just want to make it a very, very... No, hang on. Let me just bring in one of the experts on this panel who knows a thing or two about political Islam. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, why do they sign up for global jihad?
Allow me to make my point.
1 second. What is the greater objective of global jihad? Can you please tell me? And why isn't this discussed?
First, there are two things. There is Darul Islam and there is Darul Haram. Everything that is ruled by Islam is highly pious. Everything that is not is full of demons and demon worshippers who need to be converted. If they are not converted, they need to pay jizya tax and live in dhimmichut, which is to say they can't repair their temples, they can't do anything. They are essentially second-class citizens. Now, what is this need to unite? This comes basically from the concept of a caliphate. The Islamic Ummah should be one. All the Islamic states, it transcends nationality. Therefore, religion
No,
is fundamentally about
that's wrong.
nation.
Absolutely wrong.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Can I
Sure.
answer now, Rahul? Can I please counter
Wait, I
that?
haven't finished yet.
Can I
I
please
haven't.
counter?
So, this is the whole point. You look at ISIS, you look at the Ottoman Empire, you look at basically, and imagine something so called moderate like the Ottoman Empire and something so called extreme like ISIS all want to go back to the exact same thing, which is what? Global Islamic Caliphate.
Okay.
And mind you, even the early caliphates had that exact same thing. Everything is conquest,
Can I answer
conquest,
that?
conquest.
So you're
Can I get
saying
1 minute, Rahul
to make
Shivshankar,
it
please
very
answer.
easy and accessible, viewers, a global Muslim Rashtra. Very
Great.
simple. But viewers,
No,
you'll only hear this word.
Akhand Muslim
absolutely
Rashtra.
false.
Yes. So you'll only hear this Hindu Rashtra,
Absolutely
Hindu Rashtra,
false.
Hindu Rashtra, not the global project, viewers, which is very well articulated. I want to move on, viewers, because there is something that we must discuss and take it head on.